Hello and welcome to Millennial Anti-Terrorizers. I'm Nolan Cochran, a United States Marine Corps retired 0331 infantry machine gun.
I am Beth Chumbley. I am 3531 motor transport operator.
I'm Jared Brody, United States Army, 19 Delta Cavalry Scout.
I'm Alex Romero, 3531 Motor Transport Vehicle Operator, U.S. Marine Corps.
So today we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of the Veteran Administration. To start off, we're going to first talk about how to enroll in the beginning of the Veteran Administration. And for me, it was back in 2004, 2005 when I was going through TAP and TAMPS, which is the last phase before you get out of the military. And it's kind of the finalizing of the paperwork and knowing what the first steps you need to do. And one of the things they had us do was they had us take our medical records that we were issued and we had to make 3 copies. 1 copy for the Marine Corps, 1 copy for our personal effects, and 1 copy for the VA. Regardless, the VA needs to get one. So we were also told that you need 0%, no problems with you when you get out of the Marine Corps, to register with the VA and get VA benefits even with a 0% rating. Even if you're not applying for a rating, just to register. So when I got out of the Marine Corps, I was still working on my leave time before my EAS. So I hadn't actually gotten my paperwork yet. I was on terminal leave. And at that time, I went down to the VA and I gave them my paperwork. And when I was down there, they were just like, go ahead and get your ID card, get everything set up. Unfortunately, that being 2005 in the state of California, I did not know at that time they would not reach out to me for another 19 months. But in the meantime, they were able to give me certain services, but there was no percentage or disability at that time with my rating. So at that time, I was actually on TDRL, temporary disabled retired list. So I had not been retired from the Marine Corps yet. I was kind of in limbo. So the VA was kind of helping out with certain things with mental health and whatnot and with my prosthetic brace, but they could not pretty much go beyond that scope. Beth, how was your beginning when you started to enroll and everything with the VA? Do you remember?
Remember, because it kind of like happened pretty quick. I waited, I think, like a year after I was out of the service because I didn't know what I was really supposed to do other than what they taught me during like this seminar they gave us just before we got out. They kind of prepare you on what to expect. They just mentioned the VA possibly briefly, but I still felt like kind of confused coming out. So once I finally got established with the VA, I was able to get the health benefits as far as like the mental health and stuff like that we usually get the primary care. But the hard part was they didn't notify me about getting an ID. So having that ID made it hard in certain situations when I had to go check in, say like to an appointment or receive documents. Do you have proof of you being a veteran? Stuff like that. I found that kind of challenging a little bit, but I mean, that's what I felt like. I wasn't as prepared. Like I know you were, but I came from a different part of the Marine Corps where I didn't feel like as prepared coming out of the service. So it's kind of just to scrounge around and doing the best I could and talking to other vets to find out what I had to do to get my services through the VA.
How about you, Jared?
Uh, I honestly don't remember.
Right? It's like I just kind of do things as I come.
Yeah, that shit went by super fast. I think, I mean, both times that I left the army, it was like a 1 hour, like just sign a bunch of shit, and I didn't know what I was getting into or anything like that. And so the whole reason I got into the VA in the first place was about like 4 or 5 months after Afghanistan, I was having so many issues that was like divorce or get help. So like
Yeah.
that's when I actually signed up in Iowa and went there. I can't remember what facility it was, but I talked to like an intake person or whatever, and they kind of had me fill out all this paperwork, and it was a process. I mean, so that's my story.
Ouch. How about you, Alex?
I waited about a year or two because I wasn't sure if I was staying where I was going to be staying.
Mm.
And then when I did everything, it was just like a, oh, thanks for giving us your shit kind of deal. It's like they could care less whether you submitted your shit in or not.
Mm.
Really? What year was that, Alex?
Around 2013, 2014.
So Iraq was already over. They already closed out Iraq.
Yeah.
ISIS hadn't happened yet, so all the skin in the game was Afghanistan. So the VA was kind of winding down, I bet,
Oh
at
no,
that
not
point.
2014. Yeah, 2013. It was
Yeah.
when I moved out here to Colorado.
Okay. And Brody, you said yours was 2015 when you did yours?
No, it'd be 2010.
2010? And Beth, what year was yours?
And I started in 2012 because it was 2011 when I had gotten out.
Okay. So in 2005, the problem is the military had not seen casualty rates just like this since the 70s, since Vietnam. Desert Storm was a 100-hour war. I think 100 people were killed, mostly friendly fire. And with the wounded, there might have been, 400 or 500 wounded at best, kind of thing, with all the different types of wounds. By the time I was wounded, I was like around 580th wounded in Afghanistan and Iraq. And I think at that time we had like around 300 killed. And so this was in 2003 when I was wounded. So by 2005, you had a lot of guys that got out, that got wounded in 2004. And I was kind of in limbo. I wasn't so wounded that I went home right after the hospital. I went back to my unit and my unit dealt with me. But I was not re-enlistable. So I kind of stayed there until I EAS'd, which was almost 2 years later. And but the guys who get wounded so bad, they get sent home for the recovery, and then those guys get retired right then and there. And so when they're retired, they're already taken care of, and then they're processing through the VA. So by 2004, 2005, you have a lot of these guys that now are in the system. Even though I was one of the first wounded in Iraq, by 2005, it took 19 months for California to get back to me that they were ready for my claim. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I was the first wounded in my county. We're talking 850,000 people in this county. I'm the first wounded in here, and I got to wait 19 months. By the time they got back to me, I had already moved to Wyoming. And when they found out I lived in Wyoming, they said, oh, you have to resubmit it. And then they pretty much hung up, and I didn't know what to do. Luckily, I talked to the DAV. And that was the next thing I was going to talk about. Did anybody use any services in their when they used it? Because I had to use the DAV with Wyoming, and the DAV, Disabled American Veterans. These guys processed everything, did the paperwork right. So within 2 months, I had my first doctor's appointments for evaluation. Anybody use any other programs besides me?
I used the
No,
DAV when doing my service connection stuff and getting my
Mm.
paperwork going. I forgot who referred me to them, but thank God because from the stories I hear with other people who are still fighting, the same people I served with who are still fighting for their 100%. When I was fighting for mine, I remember it was like a constant battle in the beginning because I'm assuming this is how they're doing it. They're just trying to wean out the people that are really not sick, I'm assuming, but because I suffer more with the PTSD than I do the physical injuries, that was a harder battle. So I know, like in the beginning, it started around like 2013. I think I started my package. Um, coming back with all these lower percentages, like so low, it's like I could barely get help for what I needed, especially in the mental health. It was like 10%, and I knew I was gonna have to go back, and the DAV representative had to keep fighting for me, just kind of like lawyers almost fighting for a higher percentage. So they were always looking for more documentation and stuff like that. And so it's just the constant reapplying over and over to get the percentage you truly deserve. That was hard, I think, for me. It almost took like 3 or 4 years to finally get my 100% on the PTSD, just only. Everything else I just kept at the lower ratings.
What about
Yeah,
you, Jared?
I used DAV as well. I think 2010 they had it like, or it might have been 2011 before I actually got to Tennessee because we moved there. And so I was at the Nashville VA and they had it like streamlined. Like DAV had an office right at the VA. And like
Wow,
it
that's
was
interesting.
really nice because the dude that helped me like got my paperwork done in like God, I think it was a half hour. And then we just kind of chatted. He was super friendly, super awesome. And he told me eventually I should give back, kind of thing. So um but it didn't take long. I mean, I had my percentage that I have now in, I think it was less than a month. So it was really fast.
Really fast because you went through the DAV, right? See, the first time I
Yeah.
didn't, second time I did, it was extremely fast. Alex, how many months do you think it took for your paperwork to get processed?
Um, to the VA?
Yeah. When you submitted
I don't
it, when you
know.
finally got your percentage, do you remember? Or at least your call back for appointments to be start screening for your disability.
I did all that when I was getting out.
Oh, did you? Okay, so the
Yeah,
process had changed by then, I guess.
during tapping. So tapping tans is now, here's your training on being a civilian for a day. Go take care of your other bullshit, check out, and if you need to go do medical for shit. So it was like going and seeing their people for the medical disability, and then
But
within the
when
time
you
of me,
submitted, but actually when you gave your medical records to the VA, like you have to give your medical records to the VA. When did you give them to them, and then when did you get your first percentage from the VA? You see what I'm saying? There's a gap in between there because they have to evaluate everything. Do you remember that?
not really. That was so long ago because like I started getting my disability like right after I got out.
I wonder if
Like within the
they
next,
submitted it before you got out, like they submitted your medical records before you got out.
yeah, it's like it's all part of the process of when you're getting out. If you're getting out and you have medical disabilities, then you would just go through that motion as you're getting out and go deal with them, and then you'll know whether you're getting it or not by the time you were getting out of your, because all this you're doing about a month or so prior to before you get out.
Oh,
So you're
so
you're
that
getting you're
changed.
yeah, you're getting notified upon your discharge that you're going to be receiving disability or not for your compensation for your claims or not. And then I guess it depends on what that percentage, because I only got 10% and I don't remember taking my medical records to the VA until like a year after I got out because I was on the fence of whether I was going to stay out in California or move to another state.
Okay.
And I figured I'll take it with me and then enroll there so that I'm enrolled in the state that I'm living in or near the hospital that I'm living at.
Okay.
So I was getting
Um,
my benefits like right after I got out, like not the first month, the second month I got my first month's benefit and then it gave me the reimbursement of the month prior and that was it. And I've been getting that same amount since then.
okay. So it took almost 2 years before I got my first paycheck from the VA. So before that, I was getting my retirement pay, which was 50% of corporal's pay. So it was like $700 a month or something like that. And then after I finally got, it was literally in 2000, I got out in 2005, 2007 is when I actually got my first paycheck. And it was back pay of like $8,400. So they accumulated what I got paid for retirement minus that percentage towards what the original pay should have been. Did anybody also get a back pay check because it took so long for your first percentage to come in, Beth?
It's happened a couple times actually when I was going because I had to keep reapplying a couple times. So each time I reapplied, and if I got like a little bit higher percentage, they would backdate it to the original date when I first started the package. And so I would always have like a nice chunk of money always coming back to me because it went from like started at 10, whatever, then like 30, 50, 70, and then straight to 100. So it was real nice to see that money come
Okay.
in.
So that happened to you do also. How about you, Jared?
Man, it's I'm gonna have a hard time putting dates on anything, but like from 2010 to 2018, and I don't know what happened. My wife took care of everything. She was my caregiver most of the time, so
Aw,
I don't have a clue.
right?
I don't remember getting any back pay, but I don't know.
And Alex, you said it was pretty much instant. Getting that percentage, it was real quick after you
Yeah,
after
all I
you.
was getting was 10%.
Right, but it
So
was
it was
somewhat
like, I
quick.
guess
Okay.
like, let's write that off and give it to him. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, because like the stories I've heard from everybody, like in your guys' cases, they're getting a higher percentage rating. It's like, fuck, dude, they don't want to give that out, so they're having to go through hoops to fucking make sure that they're going to get the percentage rating that they're getting.
Right.
Um,
So
no, with me, it
we're
was
talking.
just quick and easy. It was just, I went and saw, like, it wasn't even somebody on base too. Like they tell you, go to this clinic out in Oceanside, and they're going to be the people that reevaluate you.
Huh.
See that's what I was talking about, where it took them 19 months to get back to me because they had to get a hold of me to set up the appointments for the evaluation. And that's why it took so long, because there were no available spots. But by the time you guys got out, they were actually using civilian contractors. And that was going to be the next thing I was going to talk about, was having a what do you call it? When they do an audit, an evaluation audit on you, on your
Mm-hmm.
percentage. And I got my disability. I got out in 2005, got my disability in 2007. But in January 2017, they took away some percentage. So 10 years later, without me knowing about this, and they basically dropped me down to 80%. And the evaluation was on that first evaluation I did in 2006, December of 2006. So uh, they said I was cured of OCPD. Okay. The C is for chronic. I don't know if anybody understands what chronic is, but chronic, you should probably look that up. It's not just a weed thing. It's continuous. It's not
Cute.
curable. Chronic. It's forever.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things they got rid of. And like at the time, I was humble with my percentage at 90%. I never claimed anything else, never asked for anything. I kept my, just kept my head down. Don't make waves is the way I try to stay in the military. Learned my lesson the hard way on that one. So they did that. Then I countered, and then when I countered, that's when I got the 100%, and that's when I got the hearing aids and everything else. Because I was like, well, if you're going to treat me like that, I'm just going to make sure I get everything and lock it down now, so I don't have to deal with this in another 10 years. Did anybody else get their percentage audited? Beth?
I did on mine actually. I remember because they would do your reevaluations every year or something like that. I remember finally getting my 100%. I remember they're saying I have a reevaluation coming up. Um, Apparently I didn't get this message or something like that saying that I had to go back in or something like that. Uh, Also, well, actually, let me start with this first. So what happened was because I wasn't going through the VA anymore at the time, I started seeking counseling outside the VA. That's why they tried to audit me, saying, "Oh, you must be getting better because you're not seeking treatment through the VA. We're just going to go ahead and like not give you your 100% anymore." So I remember having to fight for that really hard. Like I'm still seeking treatment, just not through you because that's another story in itself why I didn't go to the VA. But once I had showed them proof, like through the doctors I was going through outside the VA, once I showed proof through this reevaluation doctor, I had to reset it up because when I didn't know about it, that's why they were trying to do this audit on me. So I got it figured out eventually. And once I brought the paperwork in for them to resubmit for this long-term PTSD that I have, it's not just a reevaluation. I'm like, I tried to explain to them, this is going to be forever, so that's why I had to submit this documentation showing, hey, it's not going to be just a reevaluation every year. I'm going to be permanent for the rest of my life with this
Right.
situation. So I don't reevaluate no more. I'm just permanent.
Right. And that's where I'm at now. I had to make it permanent, and that's
Yeah,
the reason
I
why I
had to
did it.
fight very hard. It scared me. They tried to take it all away, and I was like, I am so bad, I can't even work. So
Because you don't show up,
it
they
was a
want
scary
you to
time.
continuously show up and whatnot. That's why they did it to us. How about you, Jared? Did they do that game with you?
A little bit. I do have my permanent in total. But they were trying to say like, because I was doing online classes in college, that I must be completely okay. So they tried to take some shit away. And just little things like that. It's like I don't know what the heck. Like I missed a bunch of appointments, right? Because I was incapable of even making my appointments. And they were trying to say that it was refusal of service. And if you're refusing service, then obviously you're okay. And it's like, how the fuck does that work?
Make it make sense.
Yeah, I don't know.
Alex, did they play this game with you?
Um, no, because like I said, man, I'm only at the 10%. So
So
when I
you
got
got no
that,
money for, yeah, they don't care. So the COPD, the way it was done in 2006, that was done at the VA, okay? So back then, let's say the numbers are 3 digits on it. There's 3 digits on there somewhere. I don't know where the decibel's at, okay? And that qualified me for COPD. Then, when I have to go back to the VA in 2016 because they wanted to do some checks, I didn't know I was getting reevaluated for everything. I'm sure it was in some paperwork buried in there. What they do is they still get the 3 digits, but they go to that third one and they round it down or round it up or whichever way it goes towards them. And that's the name of the game. So they do that so that way it can have something taken away. Now, this is the kicker why they use civilians. They say they use civilian companies because now they open up the industry, you have your wait times get down. But the companies know that if they approve too many people on the percentage that the VA assumes that should be in that area, then they lose the referrals. Yes, they have the approval from the VA to work with the VA, but the VA does not send them anybody. And that's the scam. If the percentage is too high of a giveaway on percentages, they stop getting the referrals to their company. So, what I found out all this with hearing aids. When I went to go get my hearing aids done, I went to a company that I went to find that was approved, but they weren't referred. So I picked one. And because I did that and they did the 3 digits and they didn't round it up, right, or round it down, I was in the approval rating. And when the VA came back and found out, they said, oh, you need to look at our guys. Like, no, 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 wait a minute. They're approved. I did the whole process. You can't just all of a sudden say you want me to see another doctor. Get a third referral here, guys. Right? So that's what I've learned from that whole process there. Now, next question I wanted to ask, Beth, we'll start off with you. How many months or years were you seeing the VA before mental health, before they wanted to put you on some type of chemical medication?
Oh my God, immediately. They're like, oh, you're chemically unstable. But I remember being on so many medications to the point I had every side effect under the sun. So I was actually worse on them, more like I feel like a zombie. I just couldn't think for myself. I was just in constant fear or scared and crying all the time. Like I was a hopeless child who couldn't defend itself. It's insane. So yeah, coming off the meds was my choice, not theirs. And I actually started functioning a little better. Like my body wasn't shutting down. I wasn't having my immune system compromised to the point I was turning into blisters. I physically could not go into the sun. I had to cover myself a couple times
So
because it
pretty
totally comes
much
off fire.
quick with a lot of side effects, and I'm guessing a lot of different types of
Oh yeah.
chemicals. How about you, Jared?
So, like when I was doing that intake at Nashville, uh, they had like you had to see a mental health physician right then and there. And I got my prescription, my first prescription right then and there that day.
Right.
So the first day that I signed up for the VA, that's that's when it happened.
Alex, how about
I don't
you?
think,
They didn't
like I
issue any
said,
drugs quick?
I get told, nah, we don't want to fucking, you know, we're not here to help you up with your narcotic fix, is what I always get. And it's like always the first thing I tell them is like, well, I don't want a bunch of fucking drugs from you guys. It's not like that shit's gonna help anyways.
They
When they used to give me pills and shit, I used to just flush the whole thing down the toilet, and then I'd walk into the next meeting and go, yeah, everything's fine, and play it all off, dude, and just be like, okay, here's your next shit. Flush the toilet, piss all over them, and say, you know, you want me, you think I'm a fucking narcotic druggie, but you're gonna give me a bunch of pills at this, and that. And I go,
what if
not
I
not
told
like
you it
it's
wasn't
helping.
like that? What if I told you it wasn't like that when I got to the VA? Okay, so remember I had that 19 months before the VA actually gave me, my chance to get my evals and stuff like that. I went to the VA and it was counseling. And it was one-on-one counseling. There was no medication, and it was kind of like write a letter to your family members asking them to write a letter how you have changed since you come back from combat, how you were before you went to combat. Things like that, okay? It wasn't until 2010 when I had a really bad breakup and I had a breakdown, one of my first breakdowns, or I should say the first breakdown when I got out of the military, and it was over a girl. I went to the VA, and when I went to the VA, they instantly put me on medication at this point. So it was completely different. There was no therapy, there was no talking about it. It was straight to medication. I don't know when the changeover went, and this is the funniest part because I was a smoker. They said, "Oh, take this one. It's great. It'll also give you the side effects of not wanting to smoke cigarettes." But if you take too much of it, you'll go and have a stroke or something like that, right? Like this, yeah, yeah. So they try to, oh, you could probably quit smoking cigarettes, but oh, by the way, if you go over this dose, so you accidentally take it twice a day, you'll stroke out or something. So that was kind of like, wow. That didn't last long with me on the medication. I didn't like it. I actually walked away from the VA. And I didn't come back to the VA, and we talked about this in previous stuff, was until 2017 when I had a breakdown with my management over federal firearms laws because they were trying to do stupid things, and I wasn't messing with the ATF kind of deal. And when you find out the company is going to back management and district managers over an assistant manager that they don't care about. It's like, fine, walking away. Hope you don't get fined. I'm not ratting you out. So then I went to the VA that time, and I went to the VA that time. I've been going to the VA since 2017 straight, but I don't always take the medication. Like I tell them, like, no, I'm good. No, I'm not going to take it. And more importantly, with the medication, I always ask, how do I get off that medication? Do you guys always ask them, how do you get off that medication? Because you don't know when's the next time you're going to get at a doctor's appointment in a short amount of time, because it could be another 4 weeks out or even longer. Beth, do you always ask your doctor, like, how do I get off this medication without them knowing, beforehand?
I just tell them I'm not taking it no more, and they're like, "Well, why are you not taking it? It's supposed to help you." And I'm like, "Because it's not helping me. It's actually putting me into like a psychosis." Or there's been times where I'm like, "No, I can't go to the bathroom anymore." I remember that. Or I was having a seizure. Well, it's not a seizure, but I was having convulsions with my head one time, and I ended up busting my head open. Like, please tell me if that's normal. And I was always bickering with my doctors
So
over
you
medication
were you were stopping cold turkey on the medications?
all the time.
Okay, so I don't do that. I always make sure I cut the dosages down over a week or two so it gets out of my system
With
because
my
most of them are like
antidepressants, I
that.
did that. There was a different
Yeah.
time I had at the time, but I've done it with stuff like that. But anything else, I was like, just cold turkey it, man. I'm like, I can't. It's
Okay.
like messing me up more than it is helping me. So it's like I'd rather go cold turkey. And
But you have to be careful because some of them can
I've
really
seen it happen to
damage
me
you that
before,
way. Yeah.
and that's why I used
Yeah.
to have so many more car accidents because I my rage would come out when I'd start going cold turkey and I'd start being aggressive back in the day. I remember this. So, and that's when I started learning
Jared?
through. Yeah,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, I'm done. I was gonna say I learned there's the medication coming off of it like
Yeah.
that. It made me rage.
Yeah, I at one point I was on like 20 to 30 pills. I think it was high 20s a day of pills. And I remember the doctor asking me one time, like, I don't know what year this is or anything like that, but I remember them asking me, They're like, "Are you having any side effects from this pill?" And I'm like, "How the fuck are you able to tell? Like, there is no way I can tell between my 30 fucking meds what they're doing to me." And it
Yeah.
really kind of stuck with me. And so I asked my doctor, like, I want to come off some of the meds. Which ones can we do? And they were insistent that I should keep on my meds. And then I remember a couple months later, I asked him again. And instead of talking about how to come off the meds, he was actually wanting to put me on more. And that's when I fucking stopped about 10 of my meds immediately. I was like, fuck you. If I have a heart attack, I don't fucking care. It's better than taking
Oh
these
my
meds.
God.
So
Yeah.
I came off all my meds, or not all of them, but I'm down to only like 6 meds a day now, or 6 pills. It's only 3 meds. Um, and I get so much blowback from the doctors for stopping meds. It's outrageous, and they won't help you in any shape, way, or form. I've never been helped to get off of a med ever.
Really? Okay, so all right, go ahead, Alex. Go ahead.
Eh,
Any medication? Like how? Okay, so you said or what we're talking about? How quick did you get on medications, or they try to push you to get on
yeah,
medications
as
when you
soon as
saw
I
mental
got it,
health?
like it's funny how they tell you, like I was saying, they call you a fucking narcotic or some shit, or they label you like a druggie when you're like, yeah, I'm in pain and I've been doing this to fucking make it stay stable and it's not working no more because it's hurting. I mean, like, they gave me a bunch of fucking random shit. It wasn't even anything for my fucking back pain. It was just more because it was like I had fucking a lot of anger issues and fucking mood swings and fucking pissed off all the fucking time and agitated over shit. Can't eat, can't sleep, this and that. But it was like the same thing. Then they want to turn around and be like, well, here's these like 4 or 5. And as like I was saying, dude, like none of that's all that stuff was just like, that's like 5 different fucking things. And then you want to change up, you want to play experiment
Oh yeah.
and, oh, let's do this dosage, that, oh, let's take this one out and put this one in instead. Eventually, it was just like, dude, you guys just ain't listening to me. It's not about the fucking pills and this and that, dude. It's the fact that I have a fucking back injury that you guys don't want to address and don't want to fix or do nothing about. And I'm sitting here fucking suffering every night trying to figure out what the fuck else to do. I just give
So
up, dude. I just say fuck the VA.
the first one that they put me on was that one that was supposed to be like Chantix. Remember Chantix? I don't even know if that's still around. Help you quit smoking,
Yeah.
right? And that was back in 2010. Like I said, that didn't last long. That was like a month or two I took that shit. Fucking in 2017, they put me on another one, and it was lithium. And lithium is an old drug, and lithium is a bad. I have not heard one person say anything good about lithium. And oh, you like it? You like it?
People
It's
on
doing good for you?
bipolar use
Oh my
it. Yeah.
God.
I'll lose my
So
fucking shit if I'm not on it.
that was the one that gave me panic attacks. So you're the first one. I mean, cause like, yeah, I know other people have been on it and like it's just been bad. And like I went down there when I had panic attacks, and when I told them I had panic attacks, they just gave me Benadryl. Like, uh
Huh.
like I eventually got off of it, and that doctor eventually retired because they were way too old at that point. Like they were in their 70s. I'm sorry,
Oh
you should not be
yeah.
practicing medicine. Um, and that was going to be the next thing I wanted to talk about was the staff. And I just want to say this. I know it sounds like we're pissed off a lot about the VA, but it's not the staff for the most part. For the most part, the staff has been nothing but wonderful. I feel like they're volunteers more than employees at the VA at one point. Now I feel like there's a lot of people working for the VA just to have it in their resume for their practices. I'm starting to see that a lot more. But I'm seeing the degree of individuals at the VA now treated as, oh, instead of thank you for your service, it's more like do you really deserve my thank you for your service? Like, what did you do in your service? Like, hold up, bitch. Who the fuck are you judging me, motherfucker? Like, because I feel like now I get judged a lot. But for the most part, I just wanted to say the people at the VA are like Eric, who seem like they're volunteers. And if people don't know or heard it before, Eric is a VA employee, also a vet, combat vet, that started this group years ago. And when the group got disbanded, we started doing it on Zoom. How about yourself, Beth? How do you feel about the overall generalization of the actual employees with your interactions?
I totally agree. As long as they're volunteers or people that are really committed, things go really great. So I've had like coming back from Colorado, I have like ups and downs. Denver was the worst hospital ever, whereas Fort Collins was the amazing hospital ever. Now I'm in Florida, and it's kind of an in between on like whoever you come across. But for as far as the staff, or when I say staff, I mean like the doctors or the nurses and stuff like that, they're a little bit more tougher to work around, meaning like they can be polite sometimes, but sometimes they're more like having an agenda. Like pushing the medication was the biggest thing back in Colorado. I remember their clinics pushing this medication like down my throat, but now that I've seen over the years, things are starting to change where they're trying to not think so much medication. They're like, what other solutions can we do? Like with example, my PTSD, instead of giving me medication, they would come up with these things like the horse therapy, where I used to go ride horses. They would have this healing touch where it's almost like acupuncture. Well, it was acupuncture, and then another one where it's not like massage, but they would do these healing things like meditation. And like this was starting to help me instead of feeding me pills down my throat. So I started to have a little bit more faith, I think, in the VA when they started changing things.
So for me, I've had one good doctor my entire VA career, which is 14 years now. One. Um, Shout out to the Air Force doctor in Dover, Tennessee. Like he was prior Air Force, and he's been the only doctor I've had that had actual military service. Um, it's like nurses are pretty good. Most people that like therapists, all that stuff, they're good to go. But I think a lot of people are just restricted by the VA machine. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like they can't even like look out for you because it's against policy or this or that. So uh and like the doctors even, I think there's a script that they have to follow. Like they have to, step one, give Prozac, step two, like I mean,
Yeah, right.
so I don't know, it's a hit or miss with the
Not
other
Prozac.
people.
It has to be non-name brand. Non-name brand. So whatever the
Yeah,
off
yeah.
brand is, right? Go ahead. Sorry.
Is it sildenafil? No, that's the blue pill.
Off-brand is Proflat.
But yeah, I don't know. I've had good interactions and mostly bad with the doctors.
Yeah. Alex?
Fucking, I'm still, you know me, baby. I'm still red flagged, homie.
That's what I was waiting for, baby.
I'm still fucking red. So, like I said, what point is the VA? Like, for whatever reason, I haven't had no, other than recently going in when my back went out last few months ago. And even then, they're still telling me, "Oh, you still need to check in with the police here. You're still red flagged and all that." And fucking, I thought we talked with Eric about all that years ago, and he sent him a letter, and he said he, said all this, that, and the other.
Reflective.
And here it is, dude. Like I still fucking can't get the help that I need without them saying, "Oh yeah, well, you need to like check and see with our police officers here to make sure it's okay with them that you're here first."
I'd write my congressman.
So
Yeah, I would write my congressman because, like, that was a long time ago.
So,
And, there's nothing wrong with the Marine getting a little mouthy at the VA, as long as he doesn't get handsy.
ugh,
I wasn't even getting mouthy at the VA, dude. I was just on the phone getting fucking livid with them. So it's like
hmm.
I
they're
almost got taken to one of
fucking
those rooms, those white rooms that they have to hold you for a little while. This
Yeah.
travel guy, they moved to online travel pay and you have to register and do it online and all that. But they also have like a physical counter where you can just fill out your old travel pay because that was easy. Well, this guy or the website wouldn't work on my phone, and
Mhm.
it wasn't working. They just kept on saying 404 not found and all that stuff. And I went
Yeah.
in there and told him about that, and I'm like, I'm just gonna fill out this form, and he's like, you can't. I'm like, yeah, I can. Like, like, yeah, I can. And he started getting kind of aggravated and like super dismissive and all that. And I fucking flipped out. I took that piece of paper, I slammed it on his desk as hard as I fucking could. I'm like, you will accept this, you motherfucker,
Eat this!
and all this kind of shit. I mean, I was going off on this dude. And that's when I looked over and my wife's like, like, let's go. So,
That's something else.
But
Children.
as we were walking out, the police stopped us right at the front doors, and we're like, hey, like, is everything okay? Like, yeah, just peachy, just filling out my travel pay.
Right?
They went from paper to digital, like what,
It is now.
2016, 17, 18? I mean, it was a while back. And that's funny because the guy in Cheyenne, I didn't have the app yet set up, so he made me fill out the form. And then he said, next time, do the app. So he wanted, and he gave me another paper with the QR code picture or whatever to sign up for the app kind of deal. But at least he accepted the paperwork and gave it to me and filled it out.
Right? There's always one of us.
Oh man. All
I just
right.
found out that's how we do it.
Hey, I was going to ask you guys, have you ever gone to the vet centers?
Yes. I was just there just the other day. So in my state, Arkansas, I do not pay property tax with me being 100% service connected. And I had to go down to the Veterans Center. I had to get a piece of paper. I had to take that paper to the county assessor and the county clerk. And they actually had, out of the three gals that were behind the counter, one of them was the specialist specifically for the veterans in the county that was getting the tax exempt on property tax. And she's like, here's a card, here's a letter, send this to the insurance, and so on and so forth. When I had my claim taken away, or my disability dropped in 2017, I went down to Greeley, and that's when I met Dion. I don't know if you guys ever met Dion down at Weld County Services, but Dion, they got rid of him, they fired him, the money went dried up. But Dion, at the Veteran Service Officer, the VSO, he did the same thing that the DAV did. So unless you want to fall through the cracks and butt your head against something, I highly recommend veterans use DAV, a VSO, some type of organization out there to start your claim with the VA, because it is going to get rid of so many headaches.
Yeah.
Anyone else use the VSO?
Not here in Florida. I did in Colorado. They're okay. They helped me when it came to like travel, not travel pay, but like riding the bus and stuff like that. I think they were helping me with finding resources, whether it's like homelessness, food shortages, like it's more of stuff like that.
Okay. Alex, you gone to your VSO anytime?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Okay. They should be at your county courthouse. If your county doesn't have one, a county nearby should. And they're at your county courthouse, or they're in a building close by. And they can help with a lot of different things. And you have to remember that it's local or state funded, these guys. So it's not like the VA. This is a different funding system. And there's different programs that they have, but what they really excel at is if you are submitting for a new claim. For instance, like me being a machine gunner, I need hearing aids or something like that. I went a different route, but if I wanted to get my hearing percentage up high enough to where I needed this done, they will submit all the paperwork in for the reevaluation testing on my hearing. And then they'll submit the paperwork in to make sure I get the hearing aids and everything, because hearing aids is not a right at the VA. You have to earn that privilege to get hearing aids, even though so many of us don't wear hearing aids in combat or hearing protection, I mean.
Oh yeah.
The next thing I wanted to talk about was with the VA, have you seen a change in the VA over the quality of services in the last 4 to 5 years?
I want to say yes. Kind of going back to what I said earlier about the medication, they're just kind of all about just feeding us that stuff. But now that I've kind of moved forward over the years, it sounds like they're coming out like they've been pushing, I don't know, like regulations or something saying within the VA they have to start using more community care if their appointments, stuff like that, or they give other alternatives, which is that healing warriors is what it's called. It goes back to that acupuncture, that healing touch, and this all this meditation stuff. It is funded free as long as you're approved by the VA and you get so many sessions. I really enjoyed that. Um, they're more about giving you other alternatives, going back to the acupuncture. They'll do massage therapy or physical therapy as well. They're using more alternatives versus using just the crutch of medication and hoping it does its job, which hopefully they're starting to see it's not. So it's moving. I think it's our other governmental systems, our politicians are probably trying to get rich off this medication scheme. So, and they're starting to see that it's not working all the
Right.
time. We have to try other alternatives.
What about you, Jared? Did you see a change in the last 5 years with the service of the individuals at your clinics?
Um, no, not really. Uh, I think one thing that I've seen more and more is they keep on pushing electronic shit, like the travel pay and all that stuff. And I think they're trying to put more of it on us individually as well. Um, where like the primary cares and all that, they won't even offer that stuff unless you ask for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I used to get offered that like a while ago, but now I don't even get mentioned any of that's access to any of that's like whole health care or any of that.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of fight tooth and nail now. I think it's getting more difficult to find that stuff. I mean, it could be location based, who knows?
Oh,
Right, right, right.
because they know I'm coming from Fort Morgan. Oh, let's schedule your appointment for Friday at 1 o'clock, and their office for travel play closes at fucking noon on Fridays. So it's like I can't even go get the travel pay, and then trying to figure out how to do it online is more of a fucking hassle than getting an appointment to get me there on time to go apply for travel pay,
Right.
you know?
So, for those that are wondering what travel pay is and why we're getting it, the VA pays us to go to their services. Now, the reason why it's there is because, unlike civilian care, which could be just 5 miles down the road, with us, it could be 30, 60, or even more than 60 miles away in the facility, like up in Wyoming. It was over 100 miles away, the one I had to use in Wyoming. And so, because of that, because we have to travel so far, they pay us. If they don't pay us, then they have to give us care in the community, is what they call it, and or community care or something like that. And that's where they actually give you a referral to go see a local civilian doctor, once again approved by the VA. So we all know how they do those jukes, those stats. Oh crap! You were just hitting it earlier, Beth. What were you were talking about something that I wanted? Oh, medication. Now you
Oh,
were talking about the scam of medication, and everybody's taking a lot of medication. Now, what people don't realize is when it comes to the Department of Defense money, okay, it break it down into three separate sections. Okay, you have military pay, you have military equipment, and then you have like retirement pay, and then you have like the VA and so on and so forth, right? What people don't realize is that the VA takes a big chunk. I mean, we're talking billions and billions and billions, tens of billions of dollars each year. Now, out of all of it, roughly a third of it goes to medical pharmaceutical companies. I can't remember the numbers anymore because it was like 2018 or 19 when I went to this down in the Capitol building in Colorado, and they were talking about medical marijuana replacing all the drugs that the VA was giving us. And they were throwing out statistics and numbers on the discussion there. And it sounded like about a third of the VA, all the money the VA gets, a third of it goes towards drugs. A third of it.
A lot.
So if you're talking, I don't know, I'm throwing a number out there, 30 billion a year the VA gets. Let's just say it's 30 billion. That's 10 billion in medication that we're giving to the pharmaceutical companies. And we talked about it with Prozac. It's not Prozac, right, guys? It's always the generic one. And here's another thing people don't know. What do? If you're taking a 100 milligram dose of medication, they give you a 200 milligram dose of medication with a pill breaker. That way they pay for the one pill, but you get two dosages out of it, because that's how they pinch pennies, right, guys? This is government healthcare at its finest. And I truly believe it's a scam. Anybody else want to talk about this subject?
God, it's all a scam. I mean, not even just through just veterans, but the entire maybe world, I don't know, but more of the American world is kind of what I think about. I'm seeing it right now that pharmaceutical companies are constantly pushing all this medication onto us to dumb us down. And like I see it through our VA, but just like overall, it's like just trying to make us, what is the word? Be more tolerable to doing what they say almost. I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but just doing what we're told. And that's why I think they gave us so many medications to the point we can't think for ourselves almost anymore when we're in those hyped up states. Even people that are in
Dumb us
pain,
down, right?
yeah, dumbing us down so they can have more control over us. I really think that's what's going on. Because I really could not function as a human being anymore when I was on so many of those medications. And I was like, I'm going to die right here in my own bedroom because I can't even do anything for myself.
Well, that's the second plan, and we'll talk about 22 a day next. Brody, what about yourself? I mean, we've talked about the medication. I mean, do you think it's also like a conspiracy of them pushing this shit too much?
Absolutely. I want to know if you guys have had this too, because I've gone into a mental health appointment, right? And the doctor asked me like, "How's it going?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't really know." Fucking yeah, like,
Yeah,
and
right?
but they'll ask me like very very basic questions like, "How are you spending your time?" All that kind of stuff. Never like how your meds are affecting you or how's your anxiety or how's actual the shit that they're treating you for. It's always just a howdy doody type shit. And then they'll recommend more meds. And I'm like, what are you even basing that shit on? Is it my fucking skin purple? Or, I mean, I don't understand like how they're even coming up with that, but they'll still push meds no matter what.
Okay,
They've
So
done that.
Alex, what about you? Do you think it's a conspiracy that they're throwing meds out so much in mental health?
I think it's just a conspiracy all and together, dude, that all this money's going to the fucking VA, but we ain't getting the fucking help that we're needing. I mean, I'm still getting
Uh,
billed from the hospital for those two visits I had that was supposed to be covered from the fucking VA.
Mhm.
so think of it like this. When you're taking medications, you're taking thousands of dollars they're giving you thousands of dollars of medications in a 30-day span. So when they're fighting us over, if you're single without kids, I think it was like 1,700 a month or something like that. 1,800, 1,850 or whatever. With kids and all that, it increases and stuff. But they're giving us $3, $4, $5,000 in drugs a month. Brody, probably a lot more than that if you were around 20 to 30 medications and stuff. And mind you, this is generic. Okay, this is the government buying to the lowest bidder contracts. Now, this is the next thing I wanted to talk about, the 22 a day. On the 22 a day study, it was done from like 1996 to 2006. So the Iraq war had only been going on for a few years. So guys had only been getting out of combat for just a few years by the time the study went through. When the study went through, it was not all 50 states and territories. It was selected states. And the three largest military states in the Union were not in there. New York, California, and Texas were not in those ones. Okay? I had to put the finger up when I said California.
Now I know.
Not towards Texas, towards California. Now, those three were not in there when they did the study. And when they did the study, all they did was they found out what is the percentage of people committing suicide in each state. Then they took the percentage of how many veterans are in that state. With the percentage of veterans in that state, with the percentage of how many suicides in that state, they came up with the average of 22 a day. Now, we know that if you're in the military, you have a higher percentage of a divorce rate, cheating, STD, yada, yada, yada kind of concept. Of course, suicide is also going to be in there. So if suicide isn't 22 a day, but a higher number, then that's great for the government. And let me tell you why this is great for the government. When you go to the VA and you see the Korean vets, the World War II vets, and the Vietnam vets, you see heroes, you see patriots, you see crippled old men, and those crippled old men are sucking that government tit dry. So if you have them killing themselves off at a younger age in their 20s and their 30s, those are tens of millions of dollars you're saving on that individual in the future because of inflation. They've already spent $1 million on just me probably in the last 20 years, right? But with inflation, before I die, if I live up into my 70s, how many more millions of dollars are they going to spend on me to take care of me? Especially if I decide to take all these pharmaceutical drugs that they keep trying to offer me. I'm down to one. I take one from the VA and I take one from a civilian therapist that I take. And the one from the civilian therapist that works wonders on me is not offered through the VA. Just want to say that.
Of course, yeah.
So, Beth, what do you think about that little conspiracy about 22 a day? Do you think that's a great plan for the government to save money by letting us kill ourselves like that?
That would make kind of sense when you say that because I mean, I've been through suicidal tendencies and I was really young at the time. I'm like, once I die, they don't have to keep paying me this monthly occurrence allowance on top of just these medications they're making money off of. So I could see them making more money killing us off early versus making us stay alive. So I'm wondering if by giving us more medication, maybe they are secretly killing us faster versus helping us. It just popped in my head just now, but I mean, it could be something like that too. For all we know, who knows? But it's insane how hard we have to work when they're so quick to throw us into a war, knowing we're coming out with so many problems, and yet we're either criminals, they want to stick us on all these meds, and they're in my conspiracy is they might be trying to kill us just to get rid of us and shut us up, maybe. Who knows?
Saves money in the long run, and if we're alive, we make the pharmaceutical companies money. Does this sound like I'm crazy here, Jared, or does this actually sound like some fucking liable shit?
No, I've questioned it. I don't know how many times. So, like, when my unit got back from Iraq, uh, there was mysterious circumstance accidents. Like, someone would be driving on a straight road and the only giant tree they would wrap themselves around. That was an accident. That wasn't suicide. And the reason why they label it an accident is because the family doesn't get money if it's considered a suicide. So if you think about that and how many suicides are actually labeled suicide, 22 is a small number on what it should be. And so already, if they're kind of covering that shit up and they're leaving a bunch of stuff out, I mean, then you start thinking about the pharmacy and yada, yada, yada. But I don't know. I definitely think there's something going on, and I don't blame the government for ever trying to pinch pennies. I just wish they wouldn't do it with our lives,
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Alex, how about yourself? Does this conspiracy theory sound crazy, or with what you've been going through at the VA in line with why they may? I mean, it might be a liable reason why they're pushing meds so much, right?
Well, it's easier, like we were saying, dude, if that's what they're doing, then it's way easier to fucking have you die for country in the battle and just pay you out that, what is it, like that $400,000 than it is to fucking take care of that person who got hit hard.
Yeah, that's probably true
So however
too.
you want to slice the pie, like that's like you're hitting the nail on you're hitting the hammer on the nail real hard right there with that one, because it's like you can look all around and see, oh, where they would rather throw someone down because it's less money out on them than take care of them until they're fucking 90 years old.
So here's another one that I saw. So people who were claiming PTSD, veterans coming out, they don't have to be combat deployed. They don't ever have to see combat, but they can still get a PTSD rating. Okay. Now, let's just say it's tribalism. They had a tribe, and once you took them out of their tribe, they have no purpose. So what do? Instead of giving him a tribe to belong to, like America should give us, they give us chemical drugs to degrade us. And by degrading us, it's like the conspiracy with the black actors. If you're a black actor, you got to be in a dress in one movie or TV show. You degrade us. Look at how Hollywood has depicted us. In the Vietnam generation, they were always panhandlers. Remember the Vietnam vet signs? They were everywhere, right? Making fun of them. The majority of Vietnam veterans I met were small business owners. Like, seriously, they didn't want to deal with shit. They started their own goddamn business. And they were highly successful. But Hollywood depicts us as what? Winos. Winos with a cardboard sign. That was the Vietnam generation. Our generation now, they're going to call us millennial combat vets whiny bitches on chemicals that just kill ourselves. Well, if we don't give a purpose when we get out and we take those medications and there is no actual counseling, what did they expect that was going to happen? So that's why, honestly, I believe that that's going to be our little crush, our little problem for our generation with the suicide. 22 a day is a big thing. You got the 22 kilometer hikes, the 22 mile hikes, the 22 push-ups,
Yeah.
That's great and all. And that builds small unit cohesion with civilian combat vets and so on and so forth. But I feel like our generation needs its own VFW. This organization that we're in now, we were OIF, OEF vets, okay? So because we're OIF, OEF vets, we're all millennials, we all saw the same combat. But more importantly, our generation is struggling different struggles that a Desert Storm vet is struggling. That's 25 years older than us, 20 years older than us.
Yeah.
He's playing with his grandkids. Okay, we don't have a lot in common with that. Of our struggles right now. He would have the same struggles we were having, for him 20 years ago. But he made it past those struggles. And I feel like we need more cohesion with the OAF, OEF vets, the millennial vets. We need our own small group. And I know the 22, what is it? The Silky runs, Silky hikes.
Oh, yes.
That guy, he's on the right track. He's on the right track, and we need to continue to have those organizations, and veterans don't have the money or time to do a lot of these things, but we need to start making time for these things, just so we have like the four of us have here.
Right. I don't know what the era, I know you're big on the history buff, Nolan, but it kind of goes back to how the Civil War went. We had to build our own army. I say army, but like our own military back then to fight to get what we truly deserve. And I feel like that's going to have to come up again now in our modern days. We need to build a community to fight back against what these people are doing to us, because they're going to continue to get away with it in some way, or even just supporting each other and just trying to make a movement, like you said.
That's going to take money, and it's going to take more millennials getting into office, combat veterans getting into office, or more importantly, family members of combat veterans getting into office and really having a passionate for us. I feel like veterans are like black people. We're only talked to about during the election season, is when they really do something about us. The only time they really care about veterans is like when they had the wait time lists. When the wait time list came out, it was a big fucking scandal, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many fucking scandals have been with the VA since? They've locked that shit down. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean they're not still playing their games.
Right.
They got games to play. They got more games than Milton Bradley, right? Remember your drill instructors?
I remember little
saying that. Oh! You want to play games? I know games. I know more games than Milton Bradley.
Go around me, ready, move. No.
Fuck that noise. It's hard to fight the government without money. Is literally what it is. If you want to go to the Supreme Court over spitting on the sidewalk or whatever it may be, you got to have $1 million. I'm guessing $100,000, couple $100,000. I mean, lawyers in the Department of Justice and the whole Supreme Court and everything below it is money. Got to have it.
Yeah.
And what I want is simple. If you're giving me $4,000 worth of drugs a month, of generic drugs, or you're willing to offer me $4,000 worth of generic drugs, why don't you offer me a $4,000 medical card to where I can go, medical insurance, and I can go anywhere in the world, because you're paying $4 fucking grand into my monthly payment on my medical insurance. Like, bitch, please, I can go get a heart transplant each year and I don't even need it. Kind of insurance is kind of shit I was talking about. But there's no way they're going to do that. And this is another thing. We're all stupid idiots that couldn't go to college. That's why we went in the military, right? That was another thing they said 20 years ago. Oh,
yeah.
You can't go to city
Downplaying us.
college. You can join the military. Nuh-uh. First off, you can go to city college without a GED or a high school diploma. You can register. Marine Corps, they were taking high school diplomas. Army was taking GEDs, but the Marine Corps wasn't even taking GEDs back then. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what it is now, but it was harder to get into the Marine Corps when I joined. I had to lie about shit to get in. You know what I mean? Like, everybody was lying back then. It was under Bill Clinton. He wasn't letting nobody fucking in. But going to city college, you got what? $3,500, $2,500. They'll take a tuition.
Right. God.
Can't be trusted. They don't trust us, is what it is. We trust them.
Sure.
They don't trust us.
I think they're scared of all the military, whether you're a veteran or not, because what we've gone through, it's almost like made us like street smart almost. Like they're scared because they know what we can do. So they're trying to tell the public how bad and evil we are all the time. That's why me and Alex have the legal issues. Or they're trying to dumb us down so that we can look crazier or something like whatever it is. They're trying to label us by doing these things to us. When in reality, if they were in our shoes, they would have no idea what we could truly do to this country if we really wanted to fight
We're
back.
pit bulls. We're pit bulls. They want us. They want us outside, protecting
wish
that
they were
fence
us.
line when they're sleeping. But when we come in the house, all big old smile with drool, wagging our tail, all happy to see them because we're faithful and we're loyal, they're still scared of us. Like, if we were a threat, you guys would have known this. I mean, there's over 2 million combat veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan alone. 2 million in this country of us. If we were a fucking threat to our wives, our children, or our community, it would have been in the news, on YouTube, TikTok videos like no motherfucking declare. Oh shit, look at this Marine, Oh, was it knife or bat? What's he pulling out? You know something's going down, right? No, we're not that bad. I mean, but they don't trust
Somebody
us.
else
They think
fucked
we're
up.
stupid. They think we're just faithful.
Ice, baby.